After living alone, I found that there seemed to be some other species living in my house besides me. So when I was lying in bed in the middle of the night with menstrual cramps and was in so much pain that I couldn't get up, I tentatively shouted into the air, "It hurts so much. I can't get up. Can you bring me the painkillers in the cabinet? And by the way, bring a cup of warm water. Thank you." The air was silent for several seconds. Suddenly, there was a rustling sound in the darkness. A few minutes later, a dark green vine tentacle rolled up water and painkillers and delivered them to me. The scene in front of me was so strange that I forgot to react for a moment. Seeing that I didn't take the water and medicine for a long time, another vine tentacle drilled in from outside the room. Like a human waving, it tentatively stretched in front of my eyes and shook. Then a deep male voice came into my ears. "Why don't you take it? Did I bring the wrong thing? Or is it too painful, and you have no strength? Do you need me to feed you? Is this thing talking to me?" I blinked and looked at the non-human species summoned by me. My thoughts returned. Subconsciously answered, "Probably not." My mind was in a mess. I moved my butt to sit up. There was another sharp pain in my stomach, forcing me to lie back on the bed again. I looked helplessly at the two vine tentacles still standing by the bed. It seemed that I really needed. "Then feed me. Can you?" I didn't expect that I would accept it so calmly. This time it was the other side's turn to be silent. After a long time, the male voice came again. "Yes." I showed a grateful smile to the vine. Soon, another vine drilled in from outside the room. Several vines swayed around me. Then they had clear divisions of labor. One rolled up my back and lifted me up. One slowly climbed up my chin and inserted the tip of the tentacle into the corner of my mouth, making my mouth slightly open. The last one poured the medicine and water into my mouth together. I didn't expect it to be fed like this. I struggled slightly and wanted him to let me go. But until he finished his actions, the water cup was placed on the bedside table. Not only did the two vine tentacles on my body not be withdrawn, but the empty one actually came up and tied around my waist and tightened. It gave me an illusion of being tightly hugged in someone's arms. I was a little embarrassed and blushed. "The medicine has been swallowed. Can you let me go?" The vine didn't respond, but it was still constantly tightening the tentacles, making it hard for me to breathe. I quickly begged in a low voice, "Don't. I'll be strangled." I can't help feeling a little scared. Am I so stupid because of the pain? I summoned by shouting into the air and called out this monster. And I even let him feed me medicine. What does he want? I just asked him for a small favor. Does he want to kill me silently and eat me to repay me? I wish I hadn't called him. I was on the verge of tears. Until the constantly tightening vine stopped. The tentacle at the corner of my mouth was pulled out and touched my face. The monster vine spoke to me again. "Don't move. Just hug for a while. 5 minutes. This is for helping you. The reward." I didn't move anymore. 5 minutes later, this vine really kept its word and let me go. Without saying a word, it quickly retreated from the bedroom and disappeared from my sight. The rustling sound lasted for a few seconds. It was strangely quiet outside. I sat up from the bed with lingering fear and stared into the darkness outside the door and fell into deep thought. I don't know if the painkiller took effect. My stomach didn't hurt so much anymore. After sitting for a few more minutes, I moved to the edge of the bed and got down. I carefully walked out. I didn't turn on the light. I groped and walked from the bedroom to the balcony. And in the corner of the balcony, I took out a potted plant that I hadn't taken much care of. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the real body of those vine tentacles. It was a small gift given to me by the property management when I moved. I held it up and observed it for a while. Only one thick vine stood quietly in the soil without any movement. Still pretending? I don't like raising these flowers and plants the most. The only plant that can be found in the whole house is this thing. And it's also a vine. Can I be wrong? I poked the vine with my fingertip, yawned, and put it back in its original place. I sat on the ground next to it and propped my cheek and began to daze. How did I find that there were other species living in my house besides me? It seems to be. The half-eaten hamburger suddenly disappeared after being placed on the table for a while, leaving only some crumbs to prove its existence. The clothes I changed after taking a bath are always inexplicably messed up. The close-fitting clothes are even wrinkled as if they had been tightly pressed by someone. There is even strange turquoise mucus on it that doesn't belong to me. When I sleep at night, I always feel that someone is hugging me tightly from behind. I can smell a faint grassy fragrance. I feel that my neck seems to be sucked by several mouths constantly. But I can't open my eyes no matter what. I was worried that some pervert had broken into my house and knocked me out. So I installed surveillance cameras all over the house to try to capture him. But I only captured the hamburger that disappeared out of thin air, the clothes flying around in the air, and me lying on the bed with my eyes closed and restless. I observed for several days. Finally came to the conclusion. It turns out that there is no pervert breaking into my house. There is a monster that can't be captured by surveillance cameras living here. After learning this truth, I didn't feel scared at all. I even found it a little fun. After all, I've been alone for too long. When I was a child, my parents died in an accident. I lived in the countryside with my grandma. Grandma was full of love for my cousin and seldom cared about me. As a result, I was self-based in character and had no friends. After going to work, I have been struggling alone in a big city. Only it has been accompanying me like this at home. When I am too sleepy to get up for work and am afraid that I will be hungry, it will prepare breakfast for me and put it on the table. Although the taste is not so good. And for those clothes of mine that it accidentally dirtied, it will wash them for me in the middle of the night, when I am asleep. When I fall asleep on the computer desk while working overtime on a plan, it will finish the plan I haven't completed. It will also help me tidy up the messy room after I go out to work. This is definitely a snail girl. I like it. Not to mention that this thing doesn't want to hurt me. Except for secretly taking advantage of me like a pervert. But I don't care. After all, no one will be so good to me like it anymore. Thinking about it, I became sleepy. My head was dizzy and I almost fell to the ground and fell asleep. The reason why I didn't fall to the ground, it was because I was wrapped up by this vine. So reluctant to part with me? Do you have to sleep next to me even when sleeping? It was the monster's voice. I was instantly energized. I pursed my lips and adjusted to a comfortable position and leaned against his vine with peace of mind. Little monster, don't you hug me to sleep every night? Why don't you hug me today? Just because I found out your existence? The vine chuckled and asked me in return, didn't you already know of my existence? All right. This is indeed not a well-hidden secret. I also smiled and continued to ask him, then why? I hugged you. Just now when I fed you medicine. I hugged you. The vine explained to me inferently. I only need to be close to you for a short while every day. You can understand it as similar to photosynthesis. I need you just like plants need sunlight to make me live better. After hearing what he said, I frowned. So you did these things to me just to survive? Can it be any other human being? If I didn't find out your existence and move away one day and someone else lived here, would you treat them like you treated me? Then you are really a fickle perverted monster. Hearing this, the vine that was wrapped around me stiffened for a moment. After realizing it, it quickly wrapped around my face and the voice was bewitching. Are you jealous? How did I say what was in my heart? How should I? Don't mention it. It's fragrant, soft and quite comfortable. The next day, I woke up yawning. I was on the living room sofa. To be precise, I was in the arms of a strange man lying on the living room sofa. But the familiar smell immediately let me know that this was the monster vine that wrapped around me, and wouldn't let me go last night. He closed his eyes and seemed to be still sleeping. His even breathing sprayed on the side of my ear. Ticklish. I struggled a bit, but couldn't break free from his arms. I had to look up with difficulty and look at his face. This is the first time in 2 years that I have seen him in human form. This face has distinct contours. A high nose bridge. And the skin has a kind of whiteness that doesn't belong to humans. But it's not creepy. It's more like a sick beauty. I licked my lips. He is so good looking. It's simply tempting me. I turned my neck back and hissed. It seems that my stomach started to hurt again. It seems that every time I have my period, it will be like this. It won't stop until it hurts me for a day or two. Helplessly, I took out my phone from beside me and asked for leave from my boss. The boss knew my situation and approved it quickly. I put away my phone with peace of mind. Then I looked up again. I found that the monster vine had woken up at some point. He was looking down at me. How was your sleep? Not bad. Quite comfortable. I yawned and tried to quickly get out of this ambiguous atmosphere. But now I want to go to the bathroom, and then go back to bed and take a nap. Can you let me go? Mr. Vine. After the vine opened its eyes, I realized. His eyes are actually dark green. Deep and empty. As if they are going to suck me in. Really beautiful eyes. Yes. But I have a request. What? The vine's words brought back my briefly wandering thoughts. He smiled. Can I have a hamburger today? You haven't eaten one for half a month. I thought it would be some strange request. Such an ordinary request really left me speechless for a moment. Does he have an addiction to hamburgers? Fortunately, every time I eat, I deliberately leave half for him. Otherwise, he would be so greedy. I helplessly laughed. Order. Are 10 enough for you? The vine gracefully shook his head. No need. 5. Well, 6 will be enough. Okay. After agreeing, the monster vine quickly let me go. I covered my stomach and rushed to the bathroom without looking back. When I tittied up and returned to the living room again, I only saw a white body flash by and disappear from my sight. I was stunned for a few seconds. When I realized it, my face flushed instantly. Just now, when that monster was holding me, was he naked? Ah, he's a pervert. To avoid such an accident from happening again, I found a floral dress that had been at the bottom of my closet. I tore off a piece of cloth and wrapped the main vine body on the balcony tightly with a red string. In this way, when he turns into a human again, there should be a piece of cloth to cover his shame. Right? After all, if the main body is not bare, people should not be bare. After the operation was completed, I nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that I heard a faintly doting laugh from Mr. Vine. But I didn't stay any longer. Instead, I went to the living room, took a painkiller, and then went back to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. Without being disturbed, I slept until after 11 o'clock at noon. My stomach crumbled a few times before I woke up hungry. I grabbed my hair and sat up from the bed. After washing up in the bathroom again, I eagerly took my mobile phone and sat on the sofa, preparing to order 7 hamburgers for myself and the monster vine. Just hamburgers? Do you want fried chicken and Coke? While operating my mobile phone, I shouted towards the balcony. No. The monster vine quickly responded to me. I nodded. The order was completed. In the next second, there was a knock on the door. So fast? Are takeaways delivered instantly now? I was full of doubts, and went to open the door. What I saw was not the delivery guy, but my colleague Gable from the company. I was very surprised by his appearance. I was stunned for a moment and asked him in confusion, "Why are you here? Is there something wrong at the company?" "There's nothing wrong with the company. It's just..." Abel scratched the back of his head, a little embarrassed lie. "It's just Selena. I heard from the boss that you were not feeling well today and took sick leave. I thought about coming to see you after get off work. Are you okay?" "Fortunately, I came to your house once during the last colleague gathering. I didn't find the wrong place. I was a little embarrassed. It's not a big deal. Why didn't you tell me before you came?" Abel pointed to the mobile phone in my hand. "I messaged you in the morning, But you didn't reply to me. Thinking that you live alone. I was a little worried. So I came. I quickly picked up my phone and took a look. There are really several messages from Abel on WeChat. Sorry. I should have been sleeping at that time. I just woke up not long ago and haven't checked WeChat yet. Abel nodded. It's okay. Out of politeness. I stepped aside and let Abel into the room. After all, he also came to see me with good intentions. I can't just close the door and drive him away without even giving him a cup of tea. After turning around, I carefully glanced at the corridor. Fortunately, the monster vine who was still talking to me just now showed no abnormalities. Sit. I breathed a sigh of relief and pointed to the sofa and told Abel to sit down. After Abel sat down, I realized that he was still holding an insulated bag in his hand. Under my gaze, he put the insulated bag on the coffee table, opened it, and took out a round lunchbox from it. I blinked and asked in confusion, "What's this?" Abel smiled and opened it. "This is seafood congee cooked by my mother at home after I heard that you were not feeling well. It's still early. Haven't you had a meal yet? Come and taste it. Drinking this will make you feel better when you are sick." He slowly opened the lunchbox and pushed it next to me. I was stunned on the spot, not knowing how to react for a moment. Is Abel bringing warmth to me? Having been colleagues with him for more than a year, except for work, I won't talk to him more than 5 sentences a day. Are we familiar to this extent? I remembered that a colleague at the workstation next to me told me some time ago that Abel liked me. I still thought she was deliberately teasing me. Now it seems that Abel really has some ulterior motives towards me. I subconsciously refused. "Thank you. But I just ordered takeout. I won't drink your congee." Abel's hand that was packing the insulated bag paused for a moment. Disappointed. "Takeout is not healthy either. My mother cooked this congee all morning. Have some. Otherwise, it will be wasted. I'll drink a few sips and then find a way to send him away. Otherwise, when the hamburgers are delivered, the little monster on the balcony won't be able to come out and eat openly." Seeing me start to sit down and drink congee, Abel finally relaxed. He didn't say anything beside me. He just stared at me with a smile on his face. It made me feel uncomfortable all over. I took another 2 sips of congee and looked up awkwardly. Who knows that at a glance? I saw that the main vine body placed by the balcony behind Abel had quietly grown to tentacles and was slowly approaching us. "Little monster. What are you doing?" I was shocked by this scene and stared wide-eyed, not knowing what to do. The seafood congee that I hadn't to swallow was stuck in my throat, choking me so much that I coughed crazily and tears came down. "Are you okay, Selena?" Abel hastily pulled out several napkins and handed them to me. Then he turned his head and looked towards the balcony following my line of sight. At this time, the tentacle of the monster vine was just 1 step away from Abel. It was floating in my brandishing. "It's over. I can't stop Abel in time. If he sees the monster vine like this, won't it scare him out of something?" At the moment Abel turned his head, I saw the vine tentacle pass blatantly in front of his eyes and come to me. Then, there was the monster vine's laughing voice. "Don't worry. He can't see me." "Really? Then I'm really relieved." Sure enough, Abel just glanced at the window in confusion and quickly turned his head to look at me. "What did you see? So surprised?" I quickly shook my head and explained. "No, nothing. I just choked accidentally because I drank too fast." "That's good." Abel calmed down and smiled tingly. "Little foodie. Drink slowly. There's still so much. I won't snatch it from you. There's no need to call me so affectionately." He brought the seafood congee in front of me and motioned me to continue eating. I sat stiffly on the sofa, thinking that I probably can't drink this congee anymore. Because the monster vine on my body is obviously a little angry. Maybe jealous? After Abel finished speaking, he wrapped around my body with tentacles while rubbing my lips. "Little foodie. Is the congee delicious?" Forgot to tell you. I don't like the smell of other humans in the house very much. Especially men who have ulterior motives towards you. They will make me crazy and make me want to possess you even more. At this time, his vine tentacles were like invisible hands, roaming wantonly on my body, appearing everywhere where they should be and shouldn't be. This strange experience made my face instantly redden with shame. But I couldn't stop it by speaking out. Nor could I struggle with movements. Otherwise, I feel that Abel will think of me as a crazy lunatic all of a sudden. Or think there is something unclean in my house. I helplessly complained in my heart. Vine, you perverted bastard. Even if others can't see you, you can't do this in front of him. They can see me. Your face is so red. The vine monster and Abel said the sentence at the same time. I gritted my teeth and replied, "It's all your fault." Blame me? Abel was so surprised that he was at a loss. Selena. What? What do you mean by that? Do you know it's over. I didn't mean you. Isn't this a misunderstanding? At the same time, the vine tentacles were still wanton on my body. Does he like you? Do you like him? Or, like me more? I didn't dare to answer the vine anymore. I just covered my red face and interrupted Abel. No. You heard wrong. I said it was my fault. I was greedy for cool last night. Maybe I have a fever. That's why my face is so red. Have a fever? Let me see. Abel nervously stood up and approached me, wanting to touch my forehead. Before I could react, the vine tentacle had already wrapped around me and dodged back. Abel. As for how he appeared in my house, you may not believe it if I say it. The external unit of my air conditioner was broken. He said he would help me repair it. Now it should be repaired. He just climbed in from outside the window. He moved towards the door and looked at me, seemingly wanting to say something but hesitating. I blinked innocently. Do you still want to say something? Abel opened his mouth. If you say it's repairing the air conditioner, then it's repairing the air conditioner. It's just. Your boyfriend's attire for repairing the air conditioner is quite unique. I don't mean anything else. I didn't know you already had a partner. I'm sorry for intruding. I'll leave first. After saying that, Abel rushed out of my house at lightning speed. As the door closed, I turned my head and looked at the monster vine in confusion. What's wrong with your attire? Why did he run so fast? What? I knock. What kind of attire is this? Only then did I realize that the monster vine was only wrapped in a floral cloth all over his body, casually fixed to his chest with a red string. At first glance, it was like a strapless maxi dress with a high slit. Abel, don't go first. I think I can still explain to you. Everyone has some special hobbies. You will understand. Right? Please don't talk nonsense when you return to the company. The monster vine had already started eating the third hamburger, looking at my expression as if I was about to cry. He raised an eyebrow. What's wrong with my attire? Didn't you dress me? Oh. Right. This is my bottom of the box floral dress. If I had known that this effect would occur when it was put on the main vine body, I would definitely not put it on again. This is worse than being naked. I sighed and sat opposite the monster vine. With his attire and his wolfing down hamburgers, he looked really a bit ridiculous. I propped my cheek and looked at him. Why did you suddenly appear? On purpose or accidentally? The monster vine answered very frankly, on purpose. I hate his smell and want him to leave quickly. I pursed my lips. Then you really don't consider me at all. A living person suddenly appears at home. Don't you think about how I can explain it reasonably? The vine smiled. You explained it quite well. I think I can be competent in repairing air conditioners. I took out a hamburger from the pile of hamburgers, opened it and took a bite. That's good. In the future, when the air conditioner is broken, you can go out and repair it. The vine also propped his cheek and took a bite of the hamburger like me. Then slowly said, as a boyfriend, I think I can also be competent. What do you think? My action of biting the hamburger paused. A wave of heat rose on my face and it turned red again. I don't think this atmosphere is suitable for confessing and confirming a relationship. I lowered my eyes. I think you should just eat your hamburger. I don't want to find an unhuman, perverted monster as my boyfriend. I felt something approaching by my legs. I looked down blankly. I saw that several tentacles suddenly extended from behind the monster vine and were climbing up my leg. A few seconds later, it drilled out from my collar and touched my face. Is that so? Then what kind of boyfriend do you want? But I can tell you clearly. If your body accidentally gets the smell of another man, even just a little bit, it will be the best aphrodisiac for me. I inexplicably shivered. I was almost choked by the hamburger. Disgusting pervert. Eat well and don't scare me. If you do this again, I won't buy hamburgers for you next time. The monster vine chuckled and surprisingly obediently retracted his tentacles. I looked up at him and suddenly remembered something. Little monster, do you have a name? Or should I just call you Mr. Vine from now on? Before the monster vine could answer, I continued on my own. Otherwise, let me give you a name. With my experience of reading romance novels for more than 10 years, I'm sure I can give you a very nice name. Read for more than 10 years? How old are you now? I counted on my fingers. 27. What's wrong? I've been an old bookworm who has been reading novels since I was 14. After the monster vine finished eating the fourth hamburger, he looked up at me. Then give me one, and let me hear it. I immediately became interested. The monster vine twitched the corner of his mouth. What kind of novels have you been reading? The overbearing president falls in love with me. Does the overbearing president have this name? No. I just think these names suit you. Looking at the speechless expression of the monster vine, I burst out laughing and successfully amused myself. Just kidding. Then what's your name? Nicholas. I nodded. It's indeed quite wild. The next day, the holiday was over and I had to go to work at the company. I specially warned Nicholas not to touch my clothes secretly again. Now that it's been made clear, I have to get him to change this perverted habit as soon as possible. I'll try my best with the clothes. Nicholas was waving his tentacles on the balcony as if waving to me. But you haven't watered me for more than a month. I'm almost dying of thirst. My action of bending down to change shoes paused for a moment. Without looking up, I replied to him. Go to the faucet and suck some by yourself. Didn't you suck on my neck very well before? Now you can't suck some water? Nicholas, can't you take better care of me? I've taken good care of you already. I'm going to be late for work. I didn't talk to Nicholas anymore and rushed out of the house quickly. I've said it a long time ago. I don't like raising these flowers and plants the most. But the main body of Nicholas Vine is on my balcony instead of in the trash can is enough to show my kindness to him. And in the company, Abel has completely spread the news that I have a boyfriend. I knew it. This big mouth. The colleague next door looked at me a few times with a scrutinizing gaze. And then curiously came up to me. I heard you have a boyfriend? Your boyfriend was wearing women's clothes yesterday and climbing outside on the 12th floor to repair your air conditioner's external unit? I turned to look at Abel not far away. After he looked at me for a second, he guiltily shifted his gaze away. I replied to my colleague, yes. Isn't he amazing? The colleague was speechless. I mean, he's wearing women's clothes. I smiled. Yes. He has a fetish for women's clothes. Dressed in a skirt. He is like a female body ballad. Extremely lovely. At this moment, Nicholas, who was comfortably basking in the sun on the balcony at home, sneezed, thinking that I was thinking of him. After hearing what I said, my colleague's expression became even more speechless. Then the type you like is quite special. Special? I turned on the computer in front of me and was about to start my own work. Who doesn't have some special hobbies? Dare you say you don't have any? I bluffed seriously to my colleague. My boyfriend is tall, handsome, and can repair the air conditioner's external unit with his bare hands. Even if he doesn't work for a lifetime, he won't worry about food or drink. He can also wash clothes, mop the floor, and make breakfast. He is even better at making PPTs than me. Even if he is angry sometimes, he can be coaxed with just one hamburger. He likes me and depends on me so much that he will die if he leaves me. What's wrong with such a boyfriend? The colleague silently turned back. As long as you like it. She took out her phone in front of me and typed a bunch. She should be complaining about me to someone else? I infuriately withdrew my gaze. Anyway, I have never had a very good relationship with these colleagues. I don't need to care too much about their opinions of me. After getting off work in the evening, I bought something casually outside to eat. After returning home, I threw my bag and lay iridly on the bed. Not wanting to move, Nicholas, who was sucking water in large gulps at the faucet, took a look at me and stopped. After a series of operations in the kitchen, he brought me a cup of red date and tremella soup. Still, the little monster is considerate. I was touched and sat up, took it, and took a sip. Then, I almost choked to death. How much sugar did you put? All the bag in the cabinet. Promise me. Don't go to the kitchen and make something you're not sure about again. I silently put the red date and tremella soup aside inside. Work is so tiring. Work hard. You still have to support me. I was extremely speechless. I thought you would say, then don't work. I'll support you. Nicholas curled his lips and smiled. If you can live by just basking in the sun, sucking water from the faucet, and smelling your smell like me, it's not impossible for me to support you. I pursed my lips. Useless little monster. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to sleep. Hearing this, Nicholas immediately came over. Let's sleep together. His vine tentacles wrapped me up menacingly. I twisted my body but couldn't move. At this, compared to the smell, what I care more about is that the smell belongs to you. I nervously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. So you like me as a person? Nicholas nodded. I found that the possessiveness for me in his eyes wasn't obscured. I smiled under his gaze. If you want me to accept you too, then you have to promise me a few things. You say, in the future, without my permission, don't touch my clothes casually. Don't hold me while I'm asleep without restraint. And don't use your tentacles to move around on my body recklessly without considering my feelings. Especially when there are other people present. In the future, when you want to do these things, you must ask me first and get my permission. You can't always act so recklessly. You have to give me the most basic respect. Nicholas rolled up my hair with a tentacle. If I promise, then do you think I can be competent as your boyfriend? I shyly lowered my eyes and nodded. Probably. Yes. Then can I hold you while sleeping tonight? Yes. Can I touch you with a tentacle? No. I quickly interrupted Nicholas. Really? Being insatiable. All right. Nicholas smiled and pinched my face. Then can we sleep together now? Girlfriend. Of course. I put down the pillow and lay back on the bed. Nicholas lay quietly behind me and stretched out to tentacles, gently wrapping around my body. He buried his face in my neck. You smell so good. I think I can smell it forever. His breath sprayed on the side of my ear. Ticklish. My heart is also ticklish. I closed my tired eyes and slowly fell asleep. Forever is a long time. If we can get along like this forever. It's not impossible. Good night, little monster.